Once Russia's most profitable company, in 2023, Gazprom posted a net loss of around $7 billion, its first since 1999, after Europe slashed its Russian gas purchases amid the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Now the company is reportedly carrying out mass layoffs and selling off most of its luxurious assets, as it struggles with increasing competition after years of benefiting from its monopoly on Russian pipeline gas exports. So in this video, we're going to look at how things got so bad for the company, and how Gazprom executives are now looking to reverse the energy giant's fortune. Don't feel overwhelmed by endless news stories. Find out exactly what you need to know every day with TLDR's Daily Briefing. Listen along in your favorite podcast app or by clicking the link in the description. First, let's start with a brief history of the creation of Russia's energy giant. Emerging from the remnants of the Soviet-era state monopoly, Gazprom, the successor to the Soviet Ministry of Gas Industry, was established in the wake of the Soviet Union's collapse during the tumultuous transition from communism to a market-oriented economy. As Russia opened its doors to foreign investment, Gazprom quickly became a crucial player in the burgeoning market economy, and a handful of oligarchs moved quickly to privatize part of the company, and soon gained substantial control over the Russian energy sector. But things took a turn in 2000 when Vladimir Putin came to power and initiated a campaign to take back political power from the oligarchs, which led to the subsequent arrest of multiple prominent figures. Putin became key to bringing Gazprom back into the hands of the state, and the company soon underwent a significant restructuring. Key executives were replaced by Putin loyalists, and in 2005, the state raised its share of the company to approximately 50%. With help from the government, such as regulation of gas prices and giving the company legal monopoly rights for gas exports, Gazprom's profitability soared. At the height of its success, the company nearly became the most valuable in the world, contributing over 5% to Russia's $2 trillion annual GDP. With these substantial revenues, they were able to fund an entire empire that went well beyond energy, from major TV channels to Russia's third largest bank to much of the country's sports sector, employing around 500,000 people. So Gazprom has not only helped to strengthen Putin's rule at home, partially due to its close grip on TV networks, but it's also helped him to exert power on Europe, particularly Central and Eastern European countries, which became Gazprom's main customer for gas. To encourage European imports, the company constructed pipelines, took control of numerous subsidiaries, and various infrastructure assets. However, the EU was always somewhat wary that its dependence on Russian gas, which in 2020 accounted for 36% of total gas imports, could threaten its energy security. This first became clear in 2005, when amid a gas price dispute with Ukraine, a transit country for Russian gas, Gazprom suddenly cut off its supplies via Ukrainian pipelines, leading to shortages in several European countries. Obviously, this anxiety became particularly acute in 2022, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Soon after, Moscow scaled back its gas exports to penalize Europe for its refusal to pay in rubles, which caused exports to the EU to fall by over half over the course of that year. At the same time, Europe began trying to wean itself off Russian gas, and imports of Russian fossil fuels fell from $16 billion per month to around $1 billion per month. And Gazprom was hit particularly hard because a lot of that was driven by a sharp decline in pipeline gas imports, and the company's share of the EU market shrunk from 35% to about 7%. Meanwhile, Europe began importing more Russian liquefied natural gas, or LNG, which is not sanctioned and remains significantly cheaper than American LNG. However, because Gazprom doesn't produce LNG, the company has been losing out to LNG producers like Novatek, a private Russian company. So the loss of the European market and a diminished presence in the LNG market has dealt a severe financial blow to Gazprom. According to the Financial Times, the company could lose around $179 billion in the next decade. Meanwhile, its FX reserves plunged by a staggering 98.5% in 2024 against the previous year, while the company's market value dropped to a decade low. Apparently, things are so bad that the company is now cutting jobs by the hundreds, including from its most prosperous European unit, Gazprom Export. Looking to find savings elsewhere, Gazprom, which has had a long history of investing in luxury property, is reportedly looking at selling off its portfolio of high-end properties and hotels. Evidently, things aren't going great for the gas giant, and this in turn isn't good news for the Kremlin, which has long relied on Gazprom to project geopolitical power. So, are there any plans to revive it? Well, the company is currently undergoing a significant restructuring in 3 key areas. Firstly, it's implementing a downsizing plan, which includes closing at least 3 departments, merging 8 divisions, and consolidating its legal, tax, and treasury functions. Secondly, the company is tightening its oversight of Gazprom Neft, its oil division, which has become the most profitable subsidiary, consistently outperforming its parent company. This is due in part to its ability to adapt to the G7's price cap on oil exports, while benefiting from elevated prices, although this could prove more difficult if prices continue to fall. Thirdly, Gazprom is shifting its focus away from international ventures and scaling back to concentrate on its role as a domestic gas supplier. Recently, it exited from several gas exploration projects in Bolivia and Uzbekistan, and is now seeking assistance from the Russian government to raise regulated domestic gas prices in order to support future investments. Additionally, Gazprom has requested that the government protect its monopoly on pipeline gas exports until 2050 and ensure minimal competition among Russian players in the global LNG market, where it faces increasing challenges from Novatek. On top of this, following its exit from the European market, Gazprom has significantly increased its gas exports in Asia, particularly to China, as part of a broader strategic shift eastwards. Recently, Putin announced that Gazprom has finalized an agreement with Tehran to supply Iran with up to 55 billion cubic meters of gas annually. Moscow will now also be hoping that Gazprom can reclaim some of its former European market, following numerous reports suggesting that the Trump administration is keen on doing business with Russia and reactivating the Nord Stream pipeline if a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine is reached. In fact, when Trump returned to the White House, Gazprom's share price recovered to around 180 rubles, fueled by optimism that a quick resolution to the Ukrainian conflict would restore gas exports to Europe. Meanwhile, in Europe, Slovakia and Hungary, who rely heavily on Russian gas, have been pushing for the EU to restart imports, as are a handful of big European energy businesses, including energy giants from Germany and France, amid growing concerns about Europe's industrial competitiveness and over-reliance on the US, especially with Trump leveraging American LNG imports as a bargaining chip in trade negotiations. As a result, some European countries may have started to view Moscow's Gazprom as a more secure alternative, an idea that would have seemed unthinkable just a few years ago. Regardless, in 2025, one thing is certain. We can expect the news cycle to continue being dominated by these same major figures. But who's the most influential? Well, in the most recent edition of our magazine, Too Long, we find out. That's because this 72-page issue runs down our official ranking of the world's most influential people, a vote that saw the TLDR team and more than 15,000 of you casting ballots. In the magazine, you'll learn the entire ranking. Plus, we've written articles about all of the top 25, discussing how they wield their influence and how they interact with and shape our world, including Modi's struggles in South India, how Elon took over, Giorgia Meloni's battles with the Italian judiciary, and Trump's monumental comeback story. Also, if you want to dive even deeper, the premium edition of the magazine also gets you access to bonus videos. That includes the team debating their rankings of the top 25, with it getting pretty heated at times.
We could potentially have a monumental jump on our hands.
Yeah.
Hands up for leapfrogging into 6th.
The most powerful European country, the second biggest economy, the nuclear power that is... The nuclear power!
Yeah.
We also recorded the team reacting to the audience's ranking, so you can find out what they really think about your votes. It's not just about the most influential people though. Too Long also contains articles about the current state of the UK, the new right in Europe, and if peace can really hold in Gaza, along with a whole variety of other stories. Too Long truly is some of our very best journalism, with the audience consistently saying that previous issue vastly outstripped their expectations. So if you want a copy too, head over to toolong.news to pick one up. And if you never want to miss an issue, you can subscribe, which gets you a 20% discount on every issue as long as you stay a subscriber. Plus, just this week, if you use code INFLUENCE, you'll get an additional £3 off any subscription. Too Long helps to fund our journalism year round and allows us to keep our YouTube videos free. So we really do appreciate your support.